The Christians again, they said, let's change our festival where we're celebrating, as they say, that Isa alayhi salam, that Jesus, they say he died, he sacrificed himself at the time, and he passed away, he was crucified, then he was risen up. So they moved that to the same time as this festival of this goddess, so that people again would associate their festival and their worship, they would associate with Christianity. So what they did is they changed the values of the people by bringing something that looked similar, giving them a message that you need to take hold of this because your culture, your values can fit in with this message and with this festival. Now another aspect of that culture, of paganism as they call it, the traditional European culture before Christianity, is what's called the witch, and what's called Wicca. And this was people who would give, again, they would give people like medication, or they'd deal with evil spirits. A lot of these issues, they would go to these people to get a remedy, to get some sort of cure. And again, this was something that the Christians, they wanted to get rid of. So they started to actually hunt down these people and say that they were worshipping the devil. Because they didn't want them to be rivals to the church. So they started to hunt them down. And for this reason, we hear of this term witch hunt. Because in Europe, anytime anyone was accused, especially old women, of being involved in this type of thing, and whenever people went to them for these remedies, they would say, she's a witch, she's a friend of the devil, she's associated with the devil, she sold her soul to Shaitan. So they would go and catch these people and they would torture them. So this was a big issue where a lot of the people, even after the time of Christianity, even centuries after Christianity came to Europe, it still couldn't get a hold on people. They still had their old beliefs. Because if you look at what's the reality is these people, they said, okay, this goddess, we give her eggs, she gives us children. They said to another one, we give them apples, they will make us have a nice winter. All about giving this bit of food and getting something else back. This is what the beliefs of the people. And what did Christianity tell them? Christianity said, someone long ago, Isa alayhi salam, he died, he was put on the cross, and because of that, all of your sins are forgiven. So really, rationally, how could the people understand this? They couldn't see any rational difference. What's the proof behind Christianity? What makes a thinking person embrace Christianity, as opposed to worshipping these gods or giving eggs or all of these other things they used to do before? So they were still holding on to their old beliefs, while the Christians wanted to get rid of them. So what we found is that they had some ways of testing. If this old woman's been accused, we want to prove whether she's a witch or not. So they tried to be a bit fair. And they said, okay, we're not gonna just kill that old woman. Let's find out, is she a witch or not? So we're gonna do a test. So what they would do is they say, okay, what we're gonna do, we're gonna tie you to this log. We're gonna tie you to a log just to test whether you're a witch or not. And we're gonna put the log underwater. Now, if you can float back to the water, above the water, this means you're a witch. This means definitely you're a witch. But if you drown and you die, then okay, you're not a witch, you're not guilty, it's okay. So you're sorted, it's all okay. Or alternatively, they would set a bonfire. They would put the woman in the middle of the bonfire. Light the bonfire. And if she burns to death, then obviously it's all okay, no, she's innocent. We got it wrong, sorry about that. But if she doesn't burn and she's still there, she's happy and she's smiling, then obviously she's a witch and she's guilty. So this is how they would test, and obviously, as you can imagine, a lot of people died in terms of drowning, a lot of people were burnt, and everyone said, okay, well, she wasn't a witch in the end. But the woman was still dead. So this was the mentality they had, that whenever anybody came, this was because of the level of misguidance, this is how they would treat them. This was the meaning of the witch hunt. Now, what are the lessons for us as Muslims today from these stories? Because someone could say, this is a very nice history lesson, but what does that practically have to do with us as Muslims today? We're living in this society, and those are things that happened hundreds of years ago. But really and truly, we can see very clearly how much of a parallel, how similar the situation is for us as Muslims and our values today. Because as we said, when they wanted to change and shift the values of the Muslims, what did they, of the people of the pagan times, what did they do? They brought a new version, a twisted version of their values. So they said, you have this festival called Samhain, we've got a new one called Halloween. And guess what? It takes place on the same day. And you can do all of these other things instead of your previous celebration. So they tried to bring them a new version of their deen by twisting its values, by changing its values. And today, what do we hear when we turn on, every time we turn on television, someone's talking about what are the values of the Muslims? What do the Muslims believe in? What do the Muslims hold? And we'll even find people paid by the government who come to the Muslim community and they will tell us what our values should be, what a Muslim should believe in. So many issues that were always not questioned from Islam, everybody understood they were part of Islam. Now you'll find people saying they're nothing to do with Islam. Yeah? So when you say that Islam has something called a khilafah, yeah, a state, yeah, and that this ummah, the Muslim ummah, should be unified under this one state. Yeah, there should be one leader for the Muslims, all the Muslim land, they should be together. People will tell you this isn't part of Islam. The real Islam, the true Islam, is one where you are happy just to live in your own nation and to be separate from the rest of the Muslims. And more than that, you shouldn't even be concerned about the affairs of your Muslim brothers and sisters. And they'll tell you that, look, the Quran says and the Sunnah says that all you need to do to be a good Muslim is just to worry about yourself and worry about your own country and worry about your own people. So the same way that they tried to change the values of the people of Europe in the past, they're using the same technique to change the value of the Muslims today. So we'll hear of scholars, we'll even hear of people who are so-called scholars who are coming forward with a different set of values for the Muslims. There's one scholar in Egypt called Muhammad al-Tantawi, and the other day he was giving a talk where he started to attack a sister because she was wearing the niqab, because she was covering her face. So can you imagine a scholar is attacking the sister and criticizing her? She's only a 15-year-old girl. Why? Because he said what you're doing is just an aada, it's a custom, it's got nothing to do with Islam. And in fact, I'm going to tell all of the schools and colleges associated with my institution that they cannot allow this to take place. No girl should be allowed to study when she's wearing this covering of the face. So this is supposed to be a scholar and a man of the deen. And yet, he is attacking this girl for wearing the niqab the same way that you find politicians in France, in Europe, in Britain and Italy are making the same attacks. So what are they doing? He's trying to change the deen of Islam. Whether you understand that the niqab is obligation or not. We know it's an opinion that Muslims hold. But he's trying to change that opinion and say that's not part of Islam anymore. And the real Islam has nothing to do with it. The same way that they say that the Muslims in Europe or Muslims in Britain, this issue of Palestine is not your issue to worry about. That's not part of your deen. That's not part of your Islam to worry about this issue. Rather, you should focus on your own local issues, issues of Muslims in Britain. So for you, even if we see today Muslims being attacked in Masjid al-Aqsa, as we saw on the news earlier today, yeah, that's not your concern. That's not part of your Islam. That's part of a twisted version of Islam that you can leave behind. And likewise, the same way we saw that witch hunt that used to take place. So the same way they tried to change the religion of the people and they changed the values, they're trying to change the values of the Muslims. So we accept that our identity can be changed, shifted and twisted to fit the values of the society. Likewise with the issue of the witch hunt. We find now that the same way they used to check what are the beliefs of the people. What do the people do? What is this old woman doing? This witch. What is she up to? Now we find chasing Muslims. Yeah, and trying to find out what do the Muslims believe. What do the Muslims adhere to? Yeah, what are they holding on to? Yeah, as the brothers just mentioned before, we had this issue the other day where this program, they were talking about what are the issues that Muslims believe in. Yeah, what are the issues that we need to do? Why is Islam a threat to Britain? Yeah, and this is a discussion they're trying to make that Muslims and Islam, they are a threat to this country. So this guy from the BNP, Nick Griffin, he was saying that Muslims are a threat to this country. Why? Because they believe in something called Sharia, they hold women back, their deen or their beliefs You're barbaric.